Why is there so much noise inside the walls of your own mind? You have spent years trying to force the world to be quiet. You have tried to silence the people around you, silence your schedule, silence the endless stream of demands. You believe that if the external world would just stop spinning, you would finally find peace. But this is the great illusion. You are trying to find silence by shouting at the wind. The exhaustion you feel is not a failure of your character. It is a system error in your understanding of where noise actually comes from. We must shift our perspective. We must stop looking at the storm outside and start looking at the architecture inside. In the engineering of the soul, we call this phenomenon resonance. Imagine for a moment that your mind is a room. If the walls of this room are paper-thin, unfortified, and weak, then every truck that drives by on the street outside will shake the foundation. A simple vibration from the world passes straight through your walls and becomes an earthquake in your heart. When you feel anger because someone was rude, or anxiety because the future is uncertain, you are not reacting to the event itself. You are experiencing structural resonance. You are vibrating at the same frequency as the chaos around you because your internal structure lacks the density to withstand it. The unconscious human life as a superconductor. They offer zero resistance to stress. A negative comment enters their ear, and instantly, without a single millisecond of delay, it becomes a negative feeling in their chest. They are wired directly into the noise. They think they are victims of the world, but in reality, they are simply machinery with no insulation. The awakened mind functions differently. It is not that the master does not hear the noise. The truck still drives by, the insults are still spoken, the challenges still arise, but the master has engineered a separation, a gap between the stimulus and the soul. We are here today to run a diagnostic on your internal walls. We are not here to judge the noise. We are here to observe the mechanism that allows the noise to enter. You are not broken, my friend. You are simply operating with an old blueprint that was designed for survival, not for serenity. But blueprints can be changed. The walls can be thickened. And the first step to engineering peace is realizing that the vibration you feel is not who you are. It is simply a signal passing through a system that is ready to be upgraded. There is a myth that has kept seekers trapped in frustration for centuries. It is the myth of the empty mind. You have been told that to find peace, you must stop thinking. You sit in silence and you fight the machinery of your brain. You try to wrestle the thoughts into submission, and when they return, as they always do, you feel you have failed. But let us look at this through the lens of engineering. To ask the brain to stop thinking is like asking the heart to stop beating or the lungs to stop drawing air. It is a logical impossibility. The function of the mind is to generate data. It is a signal generator. If you try to stop the generator by force, you only create more friction, more heat, and more noise. Peace is not the absence of the signal. Peace is the presence of insulation. In high-end acoustic engineering, we do not silence the world outside the studio. Instead, we treat the walls of the room. We line the interior with materials that absorb the frequency rather than reflecting it. This is what we must do with the chamber of your psyche. Most human beings are living in a room made of polished steel. A single thought enters, perhaps a worry about money or a memory of a past regret. Because the walls are hard and reactive, that single thought bounces off the surfaces. It echoes, it amplifies. One thought becomes 1,000 repercussions. This is the noise you hear in your head, not the thought itself, but the endless echo of your reaction to it. The work of the awakened engineer is to install a layer of damping material on these inner walls. In spiritual terms, this insulation is called non-judgmental awareness. It works like this. A thought arises. It carries energy. It carries the potential for fear. In the uninsulated mind, this energy hits your identity and shakes the whole structure. You become the fear. But in the insulated mind, the thought hits the layer of awareness. It sinks into the softness of your observation. It is acknowledged. It is seen. But because you do not judge it, because you do not fight it, it does not bounce back. It hits the insulation, and its kinetic energy is absorbed. It simply dissolves into the silence. This is the great secret of the masters. They do not have fewer thoughts than you. They do not have better lives than you. They simply have better insulation. They can stand in the middle of a hurricane and remain dry because they have ceased to conduct the storm through their own nervous system. You are not trying to kill the noise. You are changing the acoustics of the room. You are moving from a state of rigid reaction to a state of soft reception. But understanding the theory of insulation is different from actually installing it. How do we place this layer between us and our pain, specifically in the heat of the moment? How do we mechanically decouple the soul from the struggling mind? This brings us to the most critical protocol of all. Now we arrive at the critical junction. We understand the diagnosis. We understand the need for insulation. But how do we execute this in the real world when the pressure is high and the mind is spinning at maximum velocity? In heavy machinery, there is a principle known as mechanical decoupling. Consider a powerful industrial motor. It generates immense torque and vibration. If you were to bolt this motor directly to the frame of the building metal on metal, the entire structure would shake. The windows would shatter. The foundation would crack. The machine would destroy its own housing. To prevent this, engineers place a flexible buffer between the motor and the frame. They mount the engine on rubber isolation pads. The motor still spins. It still vibrates with the same intensity. But the building remains still. The movement of the part is decoupled from the stability of the whole. You are currently bolted metal on metal to your mind. When a thought of anxiety spins up the motor, you are bolted so tightly to it that you shake with it. You say, "I am anxious." You have linguistically and energetically welded your identity to the temporary vibration of a neural circuit. This is a structural flaw. To engineer peace, you must insert the buffer. You must learn to stand in the space between the motor and the frame. The next time the chaos rises, when the anger flares or the panic sets in, you must not try to shut the engine down. Do not try to force yourself to be calm. That is impossible. The flywheel is already spinning. Instead, you initiate the decoupling protocol. You shift your internal stance from experiencer to observer. You say to yourself, "The mechanism is anxious. I am the one watching the mechanism." Do you feel the difference? It is subtle, yet it changes everything. The unconscious state. I am angry. The motor and the frame are one. The whole house shakes. The decoupled state. I sense a high degree of friction in the mind. The motor spins, but you are standing next to it, watching the gauges. This is not detachment in the sense of not caring. It is precision. You are creating a gap of safety. In that gap, you are no longer the victim of your own biology. You are the operator of it. Allow the thought to scream. Allow the emotion to vibrate at 10,000 RPMs. But do not touch it. Do not claim it. Do not bolt your name to it. Watch it spin until it runs out of fuel. Because it always runs out of fuel. The only thing that keeps the motor running is your identification with it. When you decouple, you cut the power line. The momentum may carry it for a moment, but eventually, without your participation, the machinery must come to rest. But be warned, the mind will resist this. It wants you to engage. It wants you to fix the problem. But you must remember, you cannot fix the noise with more noise. You can only fix it by maintaining the structural integrity of your silence. We have discussed the structure of the internal room. We have discussed the insulation and the decoupling. But even the most perfectly engineered system will fail if it is subjected to a load it was never designed to carry. In the world of communications, there is a metric known as the signal-to-noise ratio. It measures the clarity of a transmission. A high ratio means the message is clear and the background static is low. A low ratio means the static has overpowered the signal, and nothing but chaos comes through the speakers. Look at the way you are currently operating your life. From the moment you wake, you open the floodgates of your perception. You scroll through infinite feeds of tragedy, outrage, comparison, and noise. You engage in arguments that have no resolution. You consume data that is irrelevant to your soul's purpose. You are flooding the input valves of your mind with high-voltage garbage. And then you wonder why you feel overheated. You wonder why you cannot find silence. You cannot engineer peace if you are constantly redlining the input gain. The human nervous system is a delicate processor. It requires periods of low voltage to cool down, to organize, to heal. but you are running it at maximum capacity 24 hours a day. You are creating a feedback loop of anxiety. The more noise you consume, the louder your internal resonance becomes, and the more desperate you become for distraction to drown it out. It is a cycle of structural failure. If you wish to be free, you must become ruthless with your input. You must act as the gatekeeper of your own consciousness. In engineering terms, we call this throttling. You must restrict the flow. You do not need to know everything that is happening in every corner of the earth. You do not need to process the opinions of 1,000 strangers. This is not connection. It is contamination. Lower the input. Protect the sensors. When you drastically reduce the noise entering the system, something miraculous happens. The insulation we spoke of earlier begins to hold. The decoupling becomes easier. Because the motor is not spinning so fast, the vibration settles. You must respect the machinery enough to let it rest. Silence is not just the absence of noise, it is the presence of space. And you cannot find space if you are filling every microsecond with data. Recalibrate your ratio. Tune out the static. Listen for the signal of your own being. It is the only transmission that matters. Theory is useless without execution. You can study the blueprints of a cathedral for a lifetime, but until you lay the stone, you have no shelter. We have diagnosed the resonance. We have installed the insulation. We have decoupled the motor. Now we must initiate the final protocol. We must perform a system shutdown. I invite you, right now, wherever you are, to stop. If it is safe to do so, close your eyes. Visualize your mind not as a cloud or a river, but as a high-tech control room. All around you there are screens flashing. These are your thoughts. There are alarms blinking red. These are your anxieties. There is a hum of electricity. This is your nervous system running hot. Usually, you run from screen to screen, frantically trying to manage the data. You press buttons, you pull levers, you are exhausted because you are trying to operate the entire system at once. But you are not the machine, you are the operator. In the center of this chaotic room, there is a chair. It is bolted to the floor. It is heavy. It is still. I want you to sit in that chair. Do not look at the screens. Let them flash. Do not listen to the alarms. Let them ring. Turn your chair away from the noise and face the blank wall of your own presence. This is the 0 point. In engineering, the 0 point is the reference line from which all other measurements are taken. It is the place where there is no deviation, no vibration, no movement. Feel the weight of your body in the chair. Feel the breath entering the lungs, the hydraulic rhythm of life. You are not doing this. It is happening for you. Notice that the noise is still there behind you. The mind is still chattering, the emotions are still circulating. But you are no longer powering them with your attention. You have cut the main breaker. When you stop feeding the machine with your fear, the momentum begins to die. The fans slow down. The lights dim. The vibration settles into a low, steady hum. This is not death. This is efficiency. This is the state for which you were designed. You do not need to build peace. You only need to shut down the war. Rest here in the control room. The machine is silent, but you, the operator, you have never been more awake. So, slowly, close your eyes. The world has not changed. The noise is still there, but the one looking at the world is different. You have just performed a structural upgrade. But remember this, engineering is not a one-time event. It is a maintenance schedule. The insulation will wear thin. The bolts will loosen. The world will try to vibrate your walls again. This is why we must practice. We do not meditate to escape life. We meditate to build the capacity to withstand it. If this protocol resonated with your internal logic, and you wish to continue rebuilding your mind with better blueprints, then consider this your invitation. Subscribe to this channel. Join us in the lab. We are not just sharing ideas here. We are upgrading human firmware. Go now. Walk into the noise, but keep your insulation thick. I am Frederick, and this